Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I posted a poll over on Instagram earlier today asking if you guys wanted to see a first impressions video and more importantly if you wanted it to be like a nice quick video or one of those really long in-depth videos where we take our time, and the votes are in and we're going to take our time today. So we're going to go through a whole bunch of first impressions, tons of products that I have never tried before, one or two that I've used once but like I didn't really give them a proper chance, so I'm going to do all of that today. So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching and don't forget to subscribe because I upload every other day. And that'll be the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to jump into a full face of first impressions, new products, and reviews on all of them, stay tuned. Alright, so my eyes are already primed for the palette today. This is the Canyon palette from Alter Ego. Now, I've used the brand before, but I've never used this palette. I actually did a dupe video with the Purpley palette a while ago. Today, we're going to be sticking to more of that, like, warm tone brown. So I did already prime my eyes, but we're going to do a quick little tutorial here. I'm going to start by taking the shade Mule up here in the top right corner, and I am going to use that to lightly build up the crease. We're going to go a little more coppery bronze on the eye today, and then pretty nude on the lip. Now, these powders are very pigmented, so I like to go in with barely any and build it up slowly, because if you like load up your brush with too much at a time, it can definitely build up a little faster than you might want. And I would always rather take my time to blend and build it up slowly versus jump right into too much of a shade and have to correct. Once the base of that is down, I'm going to go into the shade right next door, Desert Sun, which is a little warmer. And I'm going to take that and just blend along the socket of the eye and that entire crease area. And once I find that it's blended out like that, I'm going to then tilt my brush to the side and blend up. Next, going into the shade in the top right, Expanse, which is a very dark brown. I'm going to take that on a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to concentrate that pretty low, taking a very small amount, because I don't want this to get too dark, and it's going to go just in the outer C of the eye. And then with that first brush, we're just going to blend. Because I want it to be a little bit of that like champagne-y tone, I'm going to take Cougar right here, which is a champagne shimmer shade. I am going to take a little bit of my setting spray just to foil it a bit, and I'm going to build that on the entire lid. And once that foil is there, I'm going to go into that Mule shade again, and I'm going to mix a little bit of that back into the dark brown Expanse, and I'm going to just pat that over where that color ends, just to add a little bit more dimension. All right, I'm going to do this on this side, curl my lashes, and I'll be right back. All right, I am back. When we finish the rest of the face, I'll tie up the lower lash. But the next item comes from Ilia Beauty. This is the Fullest Volumizing, I can't speak. This is the Fullest Volumizing Mascara. I used this once before and really liked how it applied, even though it had a massive brush, which you know I don't typically like. But I really liked the way that this wore, so I'm going to use this now for the second time, first time on camera though. See how easy that is? Like I get a little bit of a flirty flutter on my lashes. It doesn't thicken them too much, but it definitely helps my lashes look their best. Definitely a fantastic mascara, especially from a clean brand, which those mascaras tend to not be as good, but I've lately been noticing the clean brands really stepping it up. And that is one coat, and I do not feel like I need to go in with a second. I think it's nice, and I'm not even using falsies today. So definitely loving the mascara. The palette is the same formula that I already know that I like, but the colors are really nice and a little more neutral than I normally go. You know I like my pinks and purples. Next, this came out of a BoxyCharm last month, but it wasn't the variation I unboxed. This is the Purelle's Ageless Glow Serum BB Cream SPF 40 with collagen vitamin C. This is also a super lightweight formula, and I've never used it, so we're going to try it today. I'm going to take a little bit of this right on the cheeks and basically everywhere. And this is in the shade light to medium. It looks like it might be a little light, but we're going to try it out. I'm going to grab it on a brush first, and then I'll use a sponge over top. Yeah, so far it does feel a little light. I'm hoping as I blend, it kind of shears out a bit, and I get a little bit more of my skin poking through. If not, we're just going to use a whole lot of bronzer today. All right, I'm going to grab my sponge just to pick up a bunch of that because I definitely used way too much, and also use this to press it into the skin and hope that it becomes a little closer of a match. Looking to my neck, you can see this is still way too light. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is not light to medium. This is fair light. Like, I am typically on that light to medium border, and this is way too light for me. And I'm hoping, there's a chance it might oxidize down a little. So I'm going to go off camera for about 5 minutes, and hopefully as it dries, it does darken up a little bit. If not, I'm going to add in a little bit of a darker color just to make it look a little bit better. I will let you know when I come back whether it darkened on its own or if I needed to add something. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. It darkened up a tiny bit, but not much. So I'm just going to have to go really hard on the bronzer today. From Jouer, I have the Bloom Bronze and Glow Sunset Cream Bronzers. They also, on the other side, have a cream highlighter. This is the same formula as the blushes, so I already know I like the formula, and it's in the colors from their palettes and single highlighters, so the shades are the same, so I'm confident that this is going to be good. I am going to actually use 2 of them today. The 2 I'm going to use is the Sunrise Rose Quartz Duo and the Sunset Skinny Dip Duo, because I feel like I'm going to need both. This one's going to be more of a cream bronzer, whereas this one's going to be more of a cream contour. So I'm going to take the more shadowy tone first. This one is in the shade Sunset, and I'm going to take this pretty much everywhere. Normally, I would not add this much cream contour, but because of how fair this shadow color is, we're going to use a little bit more than I typically would. And I am going to just remove some of the product from that same complexion brush. And I'm actually going to use this, always blending in an upward motion. See how effortless and beautiful that blends in? Such a great formula, but it's not super pigmented to the fact where you're going to go overboard quickly. So you can really take your time to build it up. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Sunrise, which is just a little bit warmer. And I'm going to add that on the perimeters of everywhere I just put the darker color, just to give myself a little bit more warmth. Because that first color was more of a deep contour shade. This is going to be more of a true bronzer. Now that we've got a little bit of a shape back to the face, it's still looking a little weird because of the color. I'm going to grab my concealer. This is the Multitask Superstar The Most Concealer from Kimchi Beauty. This is in the shade Light Beige, and it is a squeezy tube. So I'm going to take this in the under eye and everywhere I didn't contour. And I'm actually going to blend it over the contour because that's how it's going to make the contour look even more flawless. And now that that has lightened everything up a tiny bit more, I am going to take a little bit more of that first contour shade on one side, and then the highlighter shade. And we're going to use the highlighter on the high points of the face, pretty much everywhere, just to give us some glow. And then just to kind of blend it all together, I'm going to go in with the Kimchi Puff Puff Pass Tinted Setting Powder. And I'm going to take this first on the under eye. It does have a tint to it. This is in the shade Peachy. And then I'm going to take it everywhere else. And this is a really cool technique to use that I do use pretty frequently. Whenever I have something where I either feel like I put on too much blush, or the foundation is too light and the concealer needs some work, by taking a tinted setting powder over everything, I find it really helps to marry everything together so that it looks a little bit more blended, a little more put together, and I think it's already working. I do think that I'm going to have to go in with some bronzer powder, because that foundation was just so light that even that contour just didn't do enough. So that definitely brought everything together, and I'm much happier with how it's looking, but I still have to go in with that. So I'm going to go off camera, throw on a little bit of bronzer and a brow, because I don't have a new bronzer and I don't have a new brow, and I'll be right back for the next product. All right, I am back and everything is starting to come together. I still think the BB cream was way too light of a color, not going to be able to work for me, but I don't see a lot of texture on the cheeks. I don't see a lot of, real texture being grabbed to, so I'm really liking the formula. It's just definitely not my color. I am getting a little bit of creasing in the under eye. I don't know if that's the concealer or the powder, but it could be a combination of the two. I'm going to finish up the eyes and then go into cheek. So I'm going to skip liner today because I want a fuller under eye, but I don't want to do a white liner because it's a little less natural. So I'm going to take a double-sided pencil brush, starting with the darkest brown. I'm going to run that the closest to the waterline. Then on the larger side, going into Mule, the second darkest shade, I'm going to blend that out gently and connect that to the outer upper lid, just to give us a little bit of smokiness. Then switch into that first brush with Desert Sun, the lightest shade we used. I'm just going to buff all of that together. And then once I get to this outer portion of the eye, I'm going to blend the two together, just so that we don't get the, top and bottom disconnect. I kind of want that wash of color everywhere. And now we look pale as hell and we are in serious need of blush. So this is also from Kimchi. This is the Cheeky Threesome. I'm going to be taking a mixture of all of the colors in here today because I'm super, super neutral on the eyes. So it's also a little light, but I don't know if that's just the lights washing me out. So I'm going to start with the darkest shade all the way on the right. And I'm going to add that pinkiness to the cheek. And once that's in place, I'm going to go into the tangerine on the other side and just add a little bit more. It's definitely giving me a wash of color, but I think I might just not be fair enough for this, which is weird because I used to be too fair for a lot of blushes, and now it's a really pretty flush of pink, but I think it's a little light for me. So I'm going to grab the Nars Orgasm Blush, which is one I know I love and I know matches me well, and I'm going to build that on top. Yeah, that's much better. See how it's just a little bit more of a rich tone? All right, everything's coming together a little bit, but I still feel like I need a lip. So I'm going to just quickly set everything down first. And for lip, I have 3 products from Jason Wu Beauty. I've got the My Angel Lip Liner, the Honey Fluff Liquid Lipstick, and the Eclair Lip Bullet. Based on the colors, I think the bullet is the way we're going to go today for a little bit of a monochromatic moment. But I am going to use the lip liner. I think the liner might be a little bit too light for this lip, but I do want to try the formula out anyway. Yeah, the lip liner is definitely too pale for me for anything. I did get to pick the colors. Every single thing I'm using today was sent to me in one way or another, whether it was a box partnership or in PR, but I did pick the lip color, and the liner is definitely too light, but we're going to pop this right on top, so I don't think it's going to matter. Oh yeah, much better. So the formula feels really, really nice, but I'm not loving the color with this eye look today, so I am going to take the liquid lip, which is a little more of a neutral tone, and I'm actually going to layer that right on top. Okay, so the lip is a much better color now, but I'm still not loving the color in general with everything that's going on. I think part of it is that I feel way too light right now because this still is way too light for me. So I'm going to go and kind of clean this up and see what it takes to get this to where I'm happy. And I'll be right back to go through my final thoughts on everything. Right, I am back and I'm much happier with how everything is. So the few things I did, I took the whole lip off. I went in with my medium neutral lip liner from Beauty For Real because it's a little bit of a darker color. And then I went in with the liquid lipstick, and I think it made a much nicer color. I then topped it with the Dreamy Gloss from Lunar Beauty. That way I got a little bit of that peachiness I was looking for, but it still allowed the colors to be a little bit more true to what they were supposed to be. The formula on the lip liner was nice, but I don't think the color will ever be something that could work for me. It's way too light. The bullet was nice, but not the right shade for this eye look. And the lip was good, it just needed the right liner to go with it, so the lip looks much better now. As for what else I did, I added a little bit more of a drop shadow on the lower lash. I added a darker blush. I went in with the Wanderlust Blush from Buxom. I've been raving about this one for years, and I think it just brought everything back to life a little bit more. And the last thing I did was I just took a little bit more of that Vesca bronzer and diffused it around the edges of the face, just to kind of make it look a little less pale. And personally, I feel like this is a little bit of a better match now that we've added all that extra bronzer. So final thoughts, I definitely am going to pass on the Pure Lise. It just did not work for my coloring. The bronzer and highlight duos from Jouer were beautiful. I think they looked beautiful on the skin. I just want to try them again on top of something that matches my skin tone so that I can actually see how they perform and not rely on them to make things look better as opposed to just using them for what they're supposed to be. The concealer and powder, I got a little bit of creasing on my under eye, but nowhere else did it really settle into lines. So I think I just might have under or over applied. So I am going to play around with both of those again as well. The colors I think work really well, but again, I was working on top of a base that just didn't match. The cheek is also too light for me. Every time a brand asks me to get a color or like pick what color I want online, I need to start like instinctively going darker. In New York, this would have been a perfect shade on me. In Florida, it's just not dark enough. So that was also too dark for me. The palette is absolutely beautiful. I love this like bronzy, coppery thing we've got going on, and I'm definitely a fan. Let me know your thoughts down below. What products are calling to you that you loved? What products do you agree with me didn't work out? Or are there some that I thought looked great that you were like, yeah, never mind? Let me know down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!